Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a super common scenario, going through customs at the airport. It can be a little nerve-wracking, especially if English isn't your first language. We're going to listen to a conversation between Helen, a passenger, and a customs officer, and I'll break down some common mistakes and show you how to sound more like a native speaker. Let's jump into our first exchange.
Good morning. May I see your passport, please?
Here, the customs officer starts with a polite greeting. Then he asks, "May I see your passport, please?" A passport is that essential little booklet issued by your government. It proves who you are and what country you're from, and it's absolutely vital for international travel. When the officer says, "May I see your passport, please?" he's simply asking you to hand over that document so he can verify your identity and check your travel information. Simple enough, right?
Good morning. May I see your passport, please?
Yes, here is.
We've got our first little slip-up. Our Helen said, "Yes, here is." While she's on the right track, the more natural and grammatically correct way to offer something is to say, "Yes, here it is." This is the most common and natural way. Or, you could also say, "Here you go," or "Here you are." These are also very common and polite ways to hand something over. The key is to remember that it refers back to the passport.
Good morning. May I see your passport, please?
Yes, here it is.
Thank you. What is the purpose of your visit?
The word purpose means the reason or goal behind something. So, when the officer asks, "What is the purpose of your visit?" he wants to know why you are coming to this country. Are you here for vacation, work, to visit family? This question helps them understand your intentions.
I come here for tourism.
Helen replied, "I come here for tourism." While understandable, it's not quite what a native speaker would say. Here are a couple of better options. "I'm here for tourism." This is very direct and common. Or, "I'm visiting for tourism." It's also perfectly natural. Or another option would be, "I'm here on vacation." We use this when tourism is specifically for leisure. Note that we use I am, because it describes your current state or reason for being in the country. While I come often implies a habitual action, not a specific reason for a current visit.
Thank you. What is the purpose of your visit?
I'm here on vacation.
How long are you staying in the country?
This is a really important question for customs officers. When the officer asks, "How long are you staying in the country?" they want to know the duration of your visit. They're asking about the length of time you plan to remain in the country. You might be wondering why the officer uses the present continuous tense, "Are you staying?" here. It's because we often use the present continuous to talk about future plans or arrangements, especially when they are definite or already decided. Your stay has a planned beginning and end, making the present continuous a natural fit.
I stay 2 weeks.
Now, for the reply to, "How long are you staying?" Helen answered, "I stay 2 weeks." This is a common one. While understandable, it doesn't sound quite natural to a native speaker. We need to adjust the verb tense here. Instead, the most natural and common way to answer this question is by using the present continuous tense. I'm staying for 2 weeks. This is perfect because, as we discussed earlier, We often use the present continuous to talk about definite future plans or arrangements, and your trip duration is certainly a definite plan. You could also say, I'll be staying for 2 weeks, using the future continuous, which is also correct, but I'm staying is probably what you'll hear most often. And don't forget that little word for. It's super important here to show the duration of your stay. You're staying for 2 weeks, for 3 days, for a month.
How long are you staying in the country?
I'm staying for 2 weeks.
Do you have anything to declare?
This is a crucial question, especially if you're bringing certain items into the country. To declare means to openly and officially state or announce something. In the context of customs, it means to report any goods you are bringing into the country that might be subject to duty, restrictions, or special regulations. So, when the officer asks, "Do you have anything to declare?" they are asking if you are carrying any items that need to be reported to customs, such as large amounts of money, certain foods, alcohol, tobacco, or valuable goods. It's really important to be honest here.
Do you have anything to declare?
Yes, I bring some food of my country.
Almost there with this sentence. When asked, "Do you have anything to declare?" the passenger replied, "Yes, I bring some food of my country." This is another subtle but common error. While you understand the meaning, it doesn't sound quite natural. We can make it smoother in a couple of ways. Yes, I'm bringing some food from my country. This is a great choice because we're using the present continuous again, which works well for something you are currently doing or have with you on your journey. And notice the change from of to from, as from is the correct preposition to show origin. Yes, I have some food from my country. This is another perfectly natural and very common way to answer. It's simple and directly states that you possess the food. So, while bring implies the action of carrying, have simply indicates possession. Both work here, but remember to use from to indicate where the food came from.
Do you have anything to declare?
Yes, I'm bringing some food from my country.
What kind of food exactly?
The officer needs more specifics. The phrase, "what kind of," is used to ask about the type, sort, or category of something. It's a way to get more detailed information about a general item. So, when the officer asks, "What kind of food exactly?" he's not just asking if it's food. He wants to know the specific types of food items you're bringing. For example, is it fruit, meat, snacks, or something else?
Some meats and fruits. Is no problem, yes?
Now, for the last part of Helen's response. They are some meats and fruits. Is no problem, yes? This little tag at the end, is no problem, yes, is a very common mistake for non-native speakers, as it's a direct translation from some other languages. In English, it doesn't sound natural. Here's how we can make it sound much more like a native speaker. Instead of, is no problem, you'd typically ask a direct question like, is that a problem? This is a straightforward way to ask if your items are allowed or if there's an issue. Or, will that be a problem? This has a similar meaning when we want to look ahead to any potential issues. And for the yes? At the end, which isn't used to form questions in English, you could replace it with phrases like, is that okay? This is a very common, polite way to check if something is acceptable. Or, are those allowed? You use this when directly asking about the legality or permissibility of the items. Or, I hope that's okay. Use this when you're expressing a slight uncertainty or a hopeful sentiment rather than a direct question. The key takeaway here is that questions in English are formed differently than just adding yes at the end of a statement.
What kind of food exactly?
Some meats and fruits. Will that be a problem?
Now, for a super effective way to practice, we're going to do some shadowing. If you're new to shadowing, it's where you listen to a native speaker and try to repeat what they say almost simultaneously, mimicking their rhythm and intonation. It's fantastic for fluency. Here's how we'll do it. You first listen to the entire conversation, without subtitles. Just focus on how the conversation flows and try to get the overall meaning. Then you'll hear the conversation again, but this time with English subtitles to help you understand clearly. After each sentence, please repeat aloud. Try to match the speaker's pronunciation and rhythm. Finally, we'll play each line in the conversation one more time. Again, listen carefully. Pay attention to the pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm before repeating after each line. You'll speak naturally, just like a native speaker, in no time.
Good morning. May I see your passport, please?
Yes, here it is.
Thank you. What is the purpose of your visit?
I'm here on vacation.
How long are you staying in the country?
I'm staying for 2 weeks.
Do you have anything to declare?
Yes, I'm bringing some food from my country.
What kind of food exactly?
Some meats and fruits. Will that be a problem?
Good morning. May I see your passport, please?
Yes, here it is.
Thank you. What is the purpose of your visit?
I'm here on vacation.
How long are you staying in the country?
I'm staying for 2 weeks.
Do you have anything to declare?
Yes, I'm bringing some food from my country.
What kind of food exactly?
Some meats and fruits. Will that be a problem?
Good morning. May I see your passport, please? Good morning. Good morning. May I see your passport, please? May I see your passport, please? Good morning. May I see your passport, please?
Yes, here it is. Yes, here it is.
Thank you. What is the purpose of your visit? Thank you. Thank you.
What is the purpose? What is the purpose of your visit? Of your visit.
Thank you. What is the purpose of your visit?
I'm here on vacation. I'm here on vacation.
How long are you staying in the country?
How long are you staying? How long are you staying? In the country. In the country.
How long are you staying in the country?
I'm staying for 2 weeks. I'm staying for 2 weeks.
Do you have anything to declare?
Do you have Anything to declare? Anything to declare?
Do you have anything to declare?
Yes, I'm bringing some food from my country. Yes, I'm bringing some food. Yes, I'm bringing some food from my country. From my country. Yes, I'm bringing some food from my country.
What kind of food exactly? What kind of food exactly?
Some meats and fruits. Will that be a problem? Some meats and fruits. Some meats and fruits. Will that be a problem? Will that be a problem? Some meats and fruits. Will that be a problem?
How did that feel? Don't worry if it was tricky at first. The more you practice shadowing, the more natural these phrases will become. You can rewatch this section as many times as you like to keep practicing. You can rewind and practice this shadowing section as many times as you like. The more you do it, the more natural it will become. If you enjoyed this practice session, give us a thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our next lesson. Let us know in the comments if you found this helpful and what other English situations you'd like to practice. Thanks for watching and happy learning. See you next time.